It's good to come to that place where you can start to love yourself deeply. Essentially, where you can love yourself, the person that you are, even though you've got faults, mistakes, things that aren't right. In the marriage, it's imperative, if you have that privilege, and forgive me for bringing that up, for those who are not married, if both of you can, in your seeking, try to move together closer, can try to find your beingness in becoming one in this whole scenario. I don't want to say if your husband is not there, just pray for him, because that doesn't help always. And I'm very much for prayer. And I do it a lot. But something else needs to click in him. And I don't know when that comes down the line. But maybe, son, me standing at the end of the tunnel, your husband will get there. That at one point in time, he also resolves it in a certain way. It might not be as emotional, as intimate, as men do not have that ability to connect deeply. You know, when God gave jobs, he gave us the job to give everything names. When he gave you a job, he gave you children. So the one is based on our intellectual prowess to give names, to define things, to understand things cognitively, intellectually. And for you women, he gave children. And in that, relating is the first spontaneous act that you have as a person. It doesn't make you wrong, it doesn't make us right. It doesn't make us wrong and make you right. It's just finding in that reality, finding the unity that will give you a lot of strength when you need it. My wife's my hero, she and my father and my personal life coach. Those three people, they're my heroes. And my wife is my hero because she fundamentally embraced my brokenness, my inability in that sense, inability to understand that I now have a son that will never play rugby, because that was part of the plan. I love rugby, played rugby, enjoyed rugby, tried to do it as well as I could, and cricket. You're not going to have that son. You're not going to have that child. Something you mentioned quickly this morning that you had to deal with. The second thing that happened a year after Dylan was born that gave me what I'm actually trying to explain is the building of a framework of thinking that can help us to look at this. I said, we're going to either build one that is not sufficient for us to help us to see what we have to deal with completely in its truth, or we are going to build one, a frame of thinking that will help us to interpret this in a different way that will make more sense and help us to go through this in a better way. Not maybe less broken, but better, because it's broken. So the second one was, I read a book, and in this book, this guy, it was sort of a dream/vision. He was accompanied by an angel. And eventually he started talking to the angel, and the angel told him, no, my name is Wisdom. I'm actually with you in your earthly life every day of your life. Everyone's got an angel, apparently. That's what Wisdom said. Some's got the angel of wisdom, some's got the angel of courage, some's got the angel of strength, some's got the angel of peace. So it sounds like the angels do have different names, and whatever will accompany you, what angel that will accompany you is the one that you need for this journey in your earthly life. So Wisdom said, I'm the one that need to accompany you. I'm the main one, because you need to operate in wisdom. And he was standing and talking like on a mountain with Wisdom. And eventually his eye caught some of the people that was part of his tribe. They were led into what's a hindernis? Ambush. Ambush. They were led into an ambush. Underlaag. They were led into an ambush. From the place where he was standing, he could see they were led into this ambush. And he started to shout at them. But the war and the noise of the war was so overwhelming that they couldn't hear him. And wisdom said to him, you can stop shouting at them. They can't hear you. And they went through this ambush, but they were seriously hurt because the flanks of the enemy closed up behind them and started shooting them with arrows in the back. And they were overcome. Now, he was standing in the presence of wisdom with very glamorous armor, a huge shield that glistened, and a beautiful sword, and a beautiful breastplate. They glistened. He was like glowing. And started talking to wisdom, and he said to wisdom, now, what can we do never to be led in an ambush like that? Because it was seriously broken. It was seriously challenging. And what wisdom did was he took out a very drabby, dirty, ugly-looking cloak and he threw it over him. And suddenly all the glistening of his armor just died down. There was no glisten anymore, no splendor. And he asked wisdom, now what's this? He says, no, that is your cloak of humility. That is the only thing which will protect you to never be led into an ambush by the enemy. Now, Dylan was a year old. I'm reading this book and I'm looking for answers for myself to deal with this. And I found an answer in that. Remember, I'm telling you most probably how to develop a better way of viewing this, because there are better ways. This viewing that I'm talking about, you can equate to maybe a microscope. There are things on this table which, if you and I look at this table, we do not see. But I can assure you, we would be surprised if we take a scrape of this table and we place it under a microscope and then look at what we scraped off this table. It would be a whole new world. The microscope makes it possible for us to see. What I'm sharing with you is like a microscope. It's going to most probably, if you embrace some of the elements, will make it possible for you to see, and see clearly, and see deeply. In our seeing better, we understand more. In our understanding more, we find more peace. Because it's knowledge of the truth that really sets us free. Which is a very deep thought. I can write 3 chapters in a book about knowledge of the truth. And just what truth means. And what knowledge means. But I sat there reading this book and thinking, most probably by God's grace, my son Dylan is part of the cloak of humility that I need to wear for my life, to be able to do what I need to do with this life. Even today, 19 years later, it still makes sense to me. I've got my cloak of humility and I see, I want to say my wife's also got now one, because we've got 2. But it doesn't work like that. Even if you have one, everyone that is around a child like this wears that cloak of humility. I see my other children. By grace, there's some maturity in them that is beautiful. Just because the cloak of humility lives in our house. So that is one of the ways I think one can see, or try to see. And maybe not where you are now, because I know my words just connect with you on a different level, most probably. Or it could connect deeply. That might not be the point. The point might be to allow this information, this knowledge, that I'm trying to share with you. Just allow it to work in you, to drift deeper into you, to become a microscope or a binoculars or whatever we used to look with. Become that instrument that helps you to see more clear so that you can understand better.